Hey everybody, and welcome back to The Shawning. I have the incense burning. I am in my Scooby-Doo pajama pants with this awesome t-shirt that my friend got me a couple Christmases ago, or birthday, I can't remember. So, you know that it's time to talk about some scary stuff. However, I have had a very busy work week/month, and especially this week, I have not had time to really sit down and watch the movie that I have set aside for a video and take notes on it and do all the responsible things I'm supposed to, and I was not able to get to that. Horror must never die, and so, me being the creative genius that I think that I am, I decided that we would do something a little fun with this episode, and I'm super excited about this. I'm going to talk about the top 5, or not really top 5, the main 5 movies that traumatized me. For one reason or the other, these movies just really messed me up, and I don't know why. It could have been the age, could have been whatever. So we're going to talk about each one and the story on why I was so scared to begin with. So, let's take a look at some traumatizing movies, shall we? And like always, please do not forget to like and subscribe. Yeah, I appreciate all of the support that I've gotten recently. My subs have started to gain a little more consistency, so that's super awesome, and I'm just super happy about it, so I thank you guys for everything. Now that we got all this happy stuff out of the way, let's talk about some traumatizing movies. The first one on the list, and this is by... There's no real order to this except for number 2 and number 1. They are there for a reason. But these next 3 are just random. It doesn't really matter what order you put them in. So let's start off with Freddy vs. Jason. Now, believe me, I know that Freddy vs. Jason is not a super scary movie, so to speak. However, I was very young when I watched it. How my parents weren't like, come here son, let's watch Freddy vs. Jason. No, that's not how that happened. Me being the overly curious individual that I am, decided to go in the living room to see what they were watching. And I walked in right as Freddy was... It was the introduction of his boiler room.
It's time to put this bad dog to sleep. For good!
This is the part that scared me though. When I went back to my room, you know, I had Christmas lights, you know, strung up above my room. The only issue is the hue that it put off in the room was a red, and it just really messed me up. And I heavily believed in Freddy Krueger. I heavily believed in Freddy Krueger for a large portion of my childhood and was terrified that he was going to get me in my sleep. The next one on this list is kind of a funny one in a way, because I don't hear this movie talked about as a movie that necessarily traumatized people, and that would be the Blair Witch Project. I think the only reason it really screwed me up so bad is because I actually believed that it was real, because it was shot, well, yeah, it was made to look extremely authentic, and I think they did a wonderful job with that. It was effective. It is one of the greatest horror movies, in my opinion. I think that it's groundbreaking, if you ask me. And it definitely scared the socks off of me for a long time. Not really, I wasn't like scared to go in the woods. It just, you know, when you watch a scary movie and it just really just scares you for no reason. And there's not a specific fear behind it. It's just, ooh, that creeped me out and I'm just gonna be scared now. So that's just kind of how that happened. Blair Witch was just, it was a fun movie. I've watched it a couple times since, and I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it still scares me. That's kind of fun if you still have certain horror movies that still scare you after you've been watching them for so long. Alright, the next one on the list is another Nightmare on Elm Street. It is part 3, which ironically is my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street in the franchise. However, my first introduction to this film was not, it was not well received, because my mom, she is really not as big as me, but she really pushed, you know, the whole horror thing, and like once she saw that I started to like it, she definitely helped. So anyway, Back in the day, she was watching Nightmare on Elm Street. Well, she had fallen asleep. Well, all the lights were off, and I obviously wasn't going to try to find a light on my own. We got to the part where, which it's my favorite part of the movie. It's so weird how this happened. It's where, you know, Freddy comes out of the TV and he says that infamous line.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. Welcome to prime time, bitch.
And I was scared of the TV that night. I don't know why. It was just all of these instances, except for the last two, were just wrong place at the wrong time, and then I got hurt. For years and years, I wouldn't watch Nightmare on Elm Street. Until I actually started collecting horror, and then I finally was like, alright, I gotta try this again. And I was okay, because I was a little bit older then, and it was fine. Number 2 on this list is here for a very specific reason, and that would be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the remake. Now, let me be very clear. The first one is terrifying. The original, it is a classic. It is my favorite one out of all of them. But I did not see that one first. It's not like I chose to not watch the original first. It's because the only one that my mom was watching at the time was the remake. It wasn't the movie itself that necessarily scared me, except for a few parts, because I didn't really remember the movie. The part that stuck with me was the found footage at the end of that film. If you've seen the remake, or if you haven't, that's sad, and you really need to, because it's super, super good. Probably one of the best, if not the best horror remake. But that can be argued either way. The found footage at the end of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that was a good touch. Enough so to where I actually believed that Leatherface was a real person until I was well into my teenage years. So A+ on effectiveness, because you had me convinced that Leatherface was a real person. There are some true aspects to that film, as far as the Ed Gein murders and such. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre really messed me up. I was terrified that he was just gonna come get me, which doesn't make any sense, because I live in Virginia, okay? I'm sorry, but I don't need to think of myself as that important, because I don't think anybody's gonna come from Texas to Virginia just to try to catch little old me, knowing that I'm not gonna fight anyway. Well, we're not gonna do number 1 quite yet. Man, I love doing that. We're gonna have an honorable mention, just because I've been talking about my mom kind of a bit on this show. So I will give another little story about a horror movie that scared us both. And this was well after I got into collecting and had been watching horror movies. And I mean, this movie messed me up, and that would be Sinister. Alright, now I'm not saying this movie has traumatized me, you know, like these others have. I am saying that it scared me enough to where I had to definitely give it credit for how bad that it scared me. If I finish watching a movie and I'm scared to get up to turn the light on, you have done something amazing, and I tip my hat to you. Say what you want about Sinister. No, I don't think it is the scariest movie of all time. That's based on opinion, and I'm not going to get into that mess. But it's a damn good movie, and you need to watch it. And yes, it can be overhyped at times, but I mean, give credit where credit is due. Sinister is awesome. And I mean, it scared my mom, it scared me, because we just stayed up late. We'd never heard of it, and we were like, yeah, we'll give it a try. And we watched it, and I instantly went out and bought it the next day, if that means anything. Sinister is going to be the little honorable mention for this video. But let's get to the important stuff, and to the movie that everyone wants to hear, probably. Who knows? It's going to be The Grudge, okay? Don't laugh at me. I have a very good reason on why this movie scared me, alright? The little boy, he ain't nothing. I ain't scared of him, okay? All you do is, that's it. That's all you do. You ain't scary. It's the girl, okay? She's the one that messed me up. Really bad, okay? We all remember the closet scene at the beginning of that film. It messed me up. Bad. Where even now, like anytime, any closet I've had since I've watched that film, I've had to cover the top with something. So like my closet now, it's got board games up there because I will not leave it empty, because just the thought of knowing that that could fit up there and scare me, just, it freaks me out. Let's not mention the fact that I did not watch this movie till 2 years ago for the first time, because the original time I went to go watch it, it scared me so bad that I couldn't watch it again. Even now, I haven't watched it since 2 years ago, because for some reason, every time I watch Grudge 1 or 2, it's not just one of them, it's both of them, but mainly the first one. It gives me so much anxiety. Like, I get so stressed out, and I don't know why. Now, here's the kicker. I can watch The Ring, and I am unscathed. Well, halfway. The part in the video where the fingernail breaks makes me want to die every time I watch it. Besides that, The Ring doesn't really mess with me too bad. The Grudge, however, no. Not having it. I don't know why that movie just messed me up so bad. I know a lot of people think it's cheesy and blah, but I mean, I think it's a really good movie. It's terrifying. So, I mean, it does its job. And at the end of the day, that's all we ask for. Please comment and tell me some movies that traumatized you. I know that mine are a little different than most. A lot of people, you'll hear The Exorcist thrown around a lot and things of that nature. But I thought this would just be a really fun video to do. And if you like this video, please let me know. Tell me movies that traumatized you. I just want to interact with you guys, so just please let me know. Thank you for watching, and don't forget, okay, you have to keep watching scary movies for me to keep talking about them. But I don't know what scary movies you're watching, so I need you to talk about them with me. Like always, don't forget to keep it creepy.